Hey, hey, Blue Table fans, Sean here. Time for another really, because I'm looking at these and it's like all black around here. But if you look around the room, it's really well lit and quite beautiful. But I guess that's the camera for you. It focuses in on what's interesting and sort of blocks the other stuff out. You know, have you ever tried to take a picture on your camera and, you can't get it to focus on the people because it's backlit so much? Yeah, that thing. So I'm basing these troll bloods, and I've got some Harvest Gold static grass. That's by Woodland Scenics. Comes in this giant canister. And this, like, if you're basing models with this, especially if you're just doing patches of it, this is going to last you years, measured in years. Sometimes I like to accent it with some dead grass, for which I use Woodland Scenics Wild Honey. It's one of the three main static grasses we use at Blue Table Painting. The third being Gaines Workshop Scorched Grass. And that's green with like little flecks of brown and stuff in it. So I'm not going to use much of that, but I'm going to use a little bit. And I think I've shown you guys how I do static grass. I've actually got the little bowl of it in my lap. And so you won't be able to see me putting that on. Have some PVC glue, white glue. Elmer's is a good brand for that. But don't pay more than like $1 a bottle for Elmer's glue. Some places try and charge like $2.50 a bottle. That's insane. I have this clump foliage, 2 types. So I'm doing basically the same method that I used for my Aurochs, and which by the way are for sale. So contact me for details on that. By the way, sometimes people try and contact me via the Blue Table Painting Facebook page, and guys, I really don't go on there. That is not a good. And they're upset, and it's like, you know what? I get it when you're trying to get a hold of somebody, and which reminds me, I finally got a hold of BigCommerce for my issues with bluetablestore.com, and because what happened is I was on a plan when the web store was really cracking. I was on a plan for $150 a month, and then it just jumped to $200 recently, even though the volume has gone down, and that's the reason they gave there. Hey, your volume went up, so we're charging you this more money. But when I called customer service, they're like, oh well, that was just a generic increase, So it's all right. It's spider web marketing. I get it, and you just got to decide whether you want to fight it or move on with your life. Interesting, right? So anyway, hey, I got a question for you guys, and please feel free to answer in the liner notes. What is David Bowie most known for? Like, which word? Don't say, singer, because, obviously that's a pretty broad category for art that was produced. But for me, I know David Bowie mostly from Labyrinth, and I think that was kind of his cult following thing. But maybe that's because I'm younger in terms of the David Bowie saga, because he was going in the 60s too. So let's see here. I've been almost completely successful removing the term literally from my life. So I don't, I didn't put any clump foliage on these guys. I don't have to, I'm not doing every model with all 4 different types of stuff. But I am, oh wait, that's one that hasn't based yet. Here you go. By the way, this Troll Bloods army is huge. I think it's well over 75 points. Well, I guess that's not a huge army per se. It's 41 models. And like the Aurochs army is 31 models, I'm pretty sure. It's got the heroes, 20 Auroch guys, 6 yeah, it's 31 models. Has to be. So anyway, yeah, and that's pretty good. Pretty good for War Machine. This is a good looking army. And don't worry, I'm going to show it to you today during the golden hour where this room turns into a perfect light box, on this guy, I'm going to put a clump foliage, like that's it. I'm going to take a video of these Trollbuds later this afternoon, and they're going to look good. So just these 2 units, the Fin Blades and the regular Warriors, you've got, it's 22 models just for those out of the 41. And then there's 19 other types of guys. So just in talking to you, I'm almost halfway done with them. Basing can go pretty fast. All right. So I was training a painter. Now I got to get rid of the word so and from my speaking. I was training a painter over the weekend. She's doing pretty good. Like, painters can have good technical skill, but they also need to be able to make a recipe. And that's really the test. That, can an artist look at these gray models and in their mind formulate how he or she is going to actually paint them? Like, what are the steps to achieve the desired result? A, B, C, D, E. So with these guys, oh, check it out. I don't know if you'll be able to see it really well. Oh yeah, not bad actually. This is, yeah, it's a little stark. You'll see it later. This is Borka, who's on a polar bear typically, but I took a little creative freedom and made it into a grizzly bear. And I'm sure nerdy fans will say otherwise, but I think it looks really good. It fits with the army. I wanted to jewel out some of his armor, and I chose green, and that was a tough call. Red really would have been a good choice too, possibly better, but these guys have a lot of earth tones on them, especially reddish earth tones like Vallejo, Dark Flesh, also Saddle Brown. Saddle Brown I used a lot of, and that really is not conducive to, like, the red would have just been swallowed up, whereas the green, especially the green and the bases here, are really going to make these guys, they're going to make them stand out. Provide a nice backdrop for the color scheme for these models. Because the only other color that's, not an earth tone on them is the, oh my gosh, what is it? It's their skin. Their skin is blue. So I'm putting a lot of grass on this guy. I'm just going to, and remember when I was basing these guys, like putting the gravel on them, I was trying to disguise the open spots in the, like the slot bases, because they have gaps in there. I guess gap would be a better term. There we go. Yeah, I got a vacuum after doing all this static grass. He's going to get some clump foliage too. He's going to get a little happy piece of clump foliage here. There we go. That'll make that. And I'll do 2 types of clump foliage on this guy. One next to each other, so maybe part of this bush is on its way out. There you go. That's a good looking base, guys. Makes me happy inside. Love the sound of the avenue outside. It's very comforting. All those cars going by. It's really cool. Makes me happy inside. Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing this video right now. I am still kind of waking up. Oh, I had like the weirdest dream. I had an apocalypse dream, but it was pretty cool. In the dream I saw like ICBMs falling from the sky, and I was like, oh my gosh, I better get into cover. And so I started heading towards this school building, and a wave of fire from an incendiary bomb, like a huge wave, like 300 yards wide, was coming from the other direction. And I was thinking, I knew I wasn't going to make it to protective cover in time. Absolutely no way. But so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. And I remember thinking, you know what? I hope it doesn't hurt. For very long to get incinerated. So there you go. Like, like waking life doesn't have enough stuff going on in it. I've got to have these dreams, these apocalyptic dreams. Well, you know, I don't have those very often, and I do have dreams every night. Most of my dreams are really good. I dream of Valhalla a lot, of what it will be like, and in my dreams of Valhalla, it's always there's guests there, you know, like I'm talking to the guests somehow, these people that come from all over the world. So I'm just dabbing my glue on there. You know, I wonder if I can get like closer just for the heck of it, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. Yeah, there you go. Let's see if I can get this other lamp to... No, that's not going to work. Yeah, that actually kind of works. There you go. Well, you're really listening to this more of a radio program. I'm sure no one would sit there and actually look at the screen while I'm doing this, you know. There we go. So I'm done with all the infantry, 3x4, nicely organized. Now I'm going to do my characters and war beasts. So let's get Borka done. And yeah. So by the way, guys, pro tip, if it's raining outside, it's not raining right now, but it's very humid. So let's say if it's humid outside, you're going to want to be very careful with your priming and your matte coating. Like, do part of a test guy and let it dry first before moving on, because the humidity can affect these aerosols and how they land on the model. They can give you like a chalky effect. Or the worst is what I call pebbling. I don't even know what causes it exactly. I suspect it's the humidity. But that's where you're priming them on. Oh, man. I got a lot on there. Come on, Borka. Turn out, man. So, where's I going? Oh, yeah. The humidity. So just be careful with that. Pebbling, I don't know what causes it, but it absolutely ruins the models. I had a guy wanting to trade in some Drop Zone Commander, and with much sadness, I had to, you know, say that couldn't happen because the priming had pebbled the models. There we go. He's got some pretty good base work on him. I think he needs a little extra static grass on there, because some of that white glue is showing through. Now the great thing about this white glue is that it dries clear, but it also has sort of a satin finish, so you don't really want that. And normally, by the way, when I'm doing this, I'm listening to music, and this morning it's Alan Parsons' project. I've kind of become taken with the song Time recently. So there's some really good covers of it on YouTube. Whoa, hello. Yeah, that did not turn out. Oh, there we go. Oh, I was trying to show you Borka, and I was in the wrong spot. You know, I'm going to pan this back out just a little bit. There we go. By the way, I wrote a recipe for this, for exactly how I painted these guys. These guys have no metallics on them. But let me tell you, when you look at them, they look like they have metal on them. You know, this guy's base is kind of built up. It's built up on this cork thing. So I'm not going to put grass on there. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of clump foliage, maybe 2 spots worth. I'm just dipping it in my glue, sticking it on there. Let's get another one. Let's get some dark green on there. Whoa! That got away from me almost. It's hard to hold the model and do this. There we go. And I got to tell you guys, base work is really another part of this art. You cannot do your base work as an afterthought. You know, I am going to put a little bit of grass just on this other side just to balance it out. So don't let your basing materials get on the sides of the bases. There we go. There's my Madrak. Not Madrak. What's his name? Horluck. Awesome. And let's see here. There's my Madrak. Madrak Ironhide. Rawr, rawr, rawr. So yeah, I'll be done with these. I can get these into digital. That'll be nice. I texted my local game shop owner. Let's see if he got back to me this morning. Just got to the shop. Okay, yeah, the package I've been waiting for is in. It is in, guys. So that means I'm going to be driving to south today. Got to tell you, I'm loving the city life. Everything is good about it. So many great places. Always something going on. And like there was an event recently for dogs. Like all the dog owners came to the park and showed off their dogs. I think that was pretty cool. Got Gristle Bloodsong? No, that's not who this is. This is Janissa Stonetide. It's a pretty cool name. That's the trifecta for a model, guys. Does a cool thing in the game, right? So useful, looks good, has a cool model, and has a cool name. There you go. All right, so I just based all my characters, and oh no, wait, I've got champions, and then it's off to the beasts. The beasts are gonna get done. So what else? You know, even though I'm not making that many videos right now, I still get tons of inquiries. Sometimes so many I can't keep up with them. Like, you know, it's 3 days later and I'm finally answering this email, which of course looks terrible. And but I'm down to I think about 25 emails, which by the way is hardly any, and a lot of them are just, you know, practical stuff like, you know, renew such and such subscription or whatever it is. It's not really clients. I think I'm up on inquiries now. So if you've asked me about setting up a project, boy, I would send that. You know, I'm going to do nothing on this guy. We'll have a guy in there, maybe even two, that have nothing done on the bases, just the stonework. And you know, just the stonework is pretty good on some of these guys, because I did it. How's that for being conceited? Well, if you had met Sean of his young years, conceited is not a word that you would use. I really didn't think much of myself. And now I've realized that, you know, I got a lot going for me. And that's an understatement. Here we go. Oh yeah, that guy's gonna look good. That makes me happy inside. All right, four down, 2 to go. Because I've got some kind of champion in here. Now this guy, there weren't rocks put on like a lot of his base, and that means all that open area is going to become, it's like the game operation, you know. Some people, they're like, hey, how do you keep a steady hand when you do this? What's funny is, as soon as I put my brush on the model, my hand becomes steady. Like it works. It just works all of a sudden. So, there you go. All right, need to get my blood sugar up. So what else besides weird dreams? Yep. First Pathfinder session is going to be this coming Saturday, it looks like. I've got a group. It's Josh from Valhalla. He has a group already, and they just approached me saying, hey, we're looking for a game master. It's funny, everyone wants to play, nobody wants to be the GM. And you know why? It's because it requires a lot of preparation to be the GM. Like I had to get books, and I have to read up on all this stuff. And my normal thing is I run these epic scratch-built campaigns where I make everything up from scratch. Ha, that was a little redundant. Where I make everything up from whole cloth. And that's really what I was noted for back in my old circles. And let me tell you, if I was starting a game, people would want to jump on that bandwagon. There you go. Axer is done. Now, you know, I haven't put any foliage on these guys. I'm going to grab a couple of these champions and put some clump foliage on them. Because they have these nice big bases that really are begging for it. There we go. There's one. Let's get another one. Ooh, this guy had a lot of static grass, so we're going to skip him and give another guy some clump foliage. There we go. Perfect. Ah, it looks like this mountain, sort of high desert savanna type thing. Scrub lands. All right. Let's see here. Okay. My first job. Yeah, tell me your first job. I'm interested to hear that. Was at Taco Bell, and I was 16. My mother said, "Hey, you need to get a job." I'm like, and I didn't know the first thing. I'm like, "What? What's a job?" I'd never had to have one. And so I applied. A friend of mine said he was quitting his job at Taco Bell as fry boy. And by the way, that is like the lowest job that you could have. Basically, you come in super early and you make all the taco shells for the day. And that's what they had. They had this piece of paper. I don't know if they do it this way now, but they have this piece of paper that says how many shells they need. And you go to work on that fryer. It's pretty cool. And I had a really nice boss, like that was almost a mentor to me, you know, that things were going to be okay. She was really always very nice to me. I had holes in my shoes. My first paycheck, that's what I bought, was new shoes. So I was hosing down the drive-through, right, and the water just came right in through those holes and soaked my socks. It was terrible. And yeah, definitely getting some new shoes there. I don't know why I'm telling you about this. My seminal job, like watershed life job, was working at the lumber mill when I was in my my junior year. Yeah, the summer right after my junior year, I worked in the mill. And that was 40 hours a week, and that was back-breaking labor. I mean, you had to be running, and because that assembly line was not stopping. It was gonna keep going. Yep, that's good. Yeah, I just have not been inspired to make videos. And, you know, that's just how it is sometimes, you know, that inspiration has to be there. All right. All right, that's it. I did it. I reached for the next one, and there was no next one. That's pretty awesome. I'm really happy. Yeah, I keep forgetting. Like if I'm like here, it seems like I'm trying to think of what to say. I'm actually trying to remember what I told you from last time. Oh yeah, the metal on these guys was an experiment. I've never done it this way before, but I wanted to give them sort of this cast iron look, and so I did It's got black primer, then a two-tone of brick, and that brick red, and then a very pretty thick wash of black. But even then, some of that reddish tone was still showing through just a little bit. And then on top, once that's dry overnight preferably, I ghost brush pale blue-gray, which is now one of my favorite colors. Oh, well. I'm not showing it to you right. And so that's gray, pale blue gray. So there is a difference. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, the camera's showing this light is like really super blindingly bright. And then a stipple of this dark flesh tone, which is my new favorite color. What is it? Dark flesh tone, that's right. Which it's like a burnt umber, really. And I wish they would just give the paints a normal names, you know, so we can get it. And that just provided some needed warmth. And after that, it looks really good. So yeah, that was a success in terms of how the army looks. And again, you're going to see the finished product here. I'm going to see if I can. Whoa, there they are. Look at that. Haha. And you're going to see them on a much better definition video later today. Absolutely. So I'm really proud of how they turned out. I think they turned out really good. I like the green on them. They've got just a little bit of green. The ochre highlighted up to a lemon yellow. So don't, like with yellow, don't just put yellow. I'll be like, these guys are yellow, I'll put yellow on. No, you're going to end up doing like 10 layers of yellow, and you know, it's not going to work. Start with ochre. Ochre gives you a good base coat, and it covers, it'll go right on black and be its full strength, just like that. Or tan yellow. Let's go and see how close those are. And or you can do a what is it? Tan yellow or flesh. I found out that this flat flesh color is actually a really good earth tone. It's a little orangey, but it covers extremely well. Flat flesh. So don't necessarily use the colors for what they're supposed to be. So if you go to our Flickr page after I take pictures of these, which I will later today, I have a recipe. I started putting the recipes for painting all these up online. And if I remember, I'll put them in the liner notes here. That'll be pretty good. Well, guys, that's all I have for you this morning. I am definitely alive and kicking. I'm here working on blue table painting every single day without fail. And things are definitely moving forward. I'm getting that turnaround time down to where I want it to be. I've got a dream of an almost instantaneous turnaround time. The only limit that I want to push it down to is the paycheck limit. Meaning a lot of people will start an army on one paycheck and want to pay for it with the next paycheck. So finishing sooner is actually not good in that case. And I think most people really are, you know, they need those paychecks to do whatever their next thing is, you know, so I've got to be sensitive to that. One thing that's pleased me, well, I'll get this all on the video that I'm going to do later on. One thing that's pleased me, but I'll tell you right now too, that I've liked about these guys is that I've used a lot of different colors on them. So like these, anything with like rocks in the skin, they have, just touching something up here. They've got a lot of tones. Like the rocks on this guy actually have, the rocks have a lot going on. They've got maybe 5 different layers on them to give them that natural look. And that's what I've noticed is if you layer things up and go layer upon layer upon layer, you're going to get a good realistic effect. And you know, I was a little dicey with these guys. You know, I didn't think that they would necessarily turn out that great. Like I thought I was on the wrong path. So not that they wouldn't have turned out great in the end, one way or the other, but I was a little worried. But in the end, they turned out fantastic. They turned out how I wanted them to. And that pale blue-gray ghost brush over the top really makes them very cold. And that, of course, makes the other areas that are warm stand out. And I think it's a good contrast with all the warm earth tones that they have on them. And it's not a few. It's a lot of warm earth tones on them. And I've layered them up. These guys are probably pushing a level 4. And that's where I tend to gravitate. Every artist tends to gravitate to a certain level of painting. Like, I think I mentioned this before, but I have one painter, she gravitates to a level 5. So if I give her a bunch of level 3 figures, she'll kill herself to do them all to her basic level. And, you know, so she's had to learn how to simplify things to get a good effect. And there's an art to that too. How do you make them look the best you can and still use very basic, straightforward techniques? The fundamentals. And some artists gravitate towards level 3. That's tough because they really have to reach for those heroes. I tend to gravitate to a 3.5, maybe a 4. And level 5 is a bit of a push, but I definitely know how to do it. And level 6, I don't know. It's kind of a... It's just a matter of doing it, because I tend to focus on the fundamental steps of a figure. And that's what made me strong at the beginning of blue table painting, is that I was great at painting whole, themed, imaginative armies in a cohesive and thought-provoking color scheme. There you go. That's my LinkedIn profile for what I do. I can paint a guy that's an inch tall and get his eyeball on there. Well, there you go. Now I'm just rambling, so I'm just throwing this video up to let you know that I'm here every day, and I am answering inquiries and setting up new projects. I got a lot of good artists on the roster. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.